Whilst we wait, we might just wait a couple more minutes. Please grab a cup of coffee or anything else, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes. Finn, should I get underway, or how much longer should we wait?
Maybe we'll just wait a couple more minutes. We're still having people come online, so maybe 2 more minutes, Sean, and then we'll get started.
Do you want to stop the recording and then maybe start it once we get going at say 5 past?
Yeah.
Cool. Finn, is that time to get going?
Yeah, I think get started. We might have a few more popping on, but yeah, all good.
Cool. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sean de Bruin. I'm CEO Tourism Industry Council of SA, and supported by Finn, the events coordinator today. Give us a wave, Finn. Can't see you, Finn. Where are you? Are you there somewhere?
I'm here, Sean. Hi, everyone.
Apologies from Kathy today, who normally does the In Conversations. She's down with COVID at the moment, and she's battling actually. So she's all good, but she's got sort of the middle level COVID, so she's out until the weekend. The In Conversation, as probably many of you are aware, the In Conversation series is a program undertaken monthly to keep South Australia's tourism industry and stakeholders engaged and informed on important issues and topics. I'll introduce our first speaker in a moment. However, just a couple of housekeeping things that I'd like to run you through. Firstly, please keep your microphone on mute. Use the chat function for comments and questions. We will open things up so that you can interact with our guests. And this session we're recording because we've got a lot of people that will end up watching it back at their convenience. Today I'm delighted to say that we've got Dougal McFuzzlebutt from RAA with us today. Thanks, Dougal. And he's got a great story about his name, if anyone's wondering. He also has a very diverse work history that stems 25 years, and is currently the Travel Product Manager at RAA. Welcome, Dougal.
Thanks, Sean. Great to be here.
So today we're talking all about market trends and consumer demands. Obviously, through COVID, we've never seen so much change, never seen so much volatility. And at times it's extremely difficult for operators to stay up to date and to understand where their markets or future market opportunities might be. We have Dougal with us, who not only has great expertise, but has a great organisation that he works for that obviously is looking at these issues all the time, and can hopefully provide us lots of insights and knowledge on how to adapt and repurpose product. Perhaps, Dougal, if I throw to you for a bit of an opener and in terms of the insights and the conversation that you'd be looking to have with people online today.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sean. Yes, it's definitely been a bumpy ride, I think, for everyone out there. There's been some great stories that have come out of it as well, and I think we tend to forget those every now and again. So it's always good to touch on the positive side of what this has done. It has helped people to reinvent as well and create new opportunities during this time. Obviously, there's still some issues going on with a lot of staffing, but we've seen some great stories, and I think one of the best ones is the fact that South Australians have a much better appreciation for their own state. You know, we've seen a lot more South Australians travel within their own state, travel to regions that they'd never been to before as well. So, you know, it has been, I suppose, difficult, but it's also exciting to see where we are going as well.
So what are the recent trends, Dougal, that you've identified as part of RAA's work?
Yeah, look, certainly there has been a bit of a swing with some new, I suppose, products or opportunities coming into the market. We've seen a fair bit of ecotourism come into it. People are obviously becoming much more aware, being more surrounded at home by family. They're becoming much more family oriented, unless they're in lockdown for long periods. Then they want to get outside a lot more. So that nature-based side of tourism has also become a big part of it. Being out in the open, you know, people do want to feel like they are a bit safer where they're not confined or close to a lot of people. The wine industry has been a really big change for us, or food and beverage in general. I think, you know, for the first time in a long time, having previously worked a bit more in the food and beverage side, you know, we've seen wine and distilleries and breweries become part of the tourism industry in a much bigger fold where, you know, they're starting to offer educational experiences rather than just tastings. So people are starting to get a much better appreciation for what that sector is doing. And obviously it's a massive part of the backbone of the tourism industry here in South Australia as well. So it's been interesting to see how they've kind of come into the fold a lot more for us as well. But then there's that point of difference, the bragging rights, the big ticket kind of thrill-seeking packages as well, which people are spending more money on doing from a local perspective because they haven't been able to do those larger overseas trips as well. So it has been exciting to see South Australians wanting to do more. So it's been really broad and diverse in what we have seen happen.
Yeah, no, thanks, Dougal. And it's remiss of me not to do an acknowledgement of country in kicking off the In Conversation. And so just like to double back and acknowledge that today I'm on Kaurna land and acknowledge elders past, present, and emerging, and obviously people are on all sorts of different Aboriginal lands around the state. Last week was Reconciliation Week, and we saw Emily Perry post recently about 30 years since Mabo. Our First Nations are obviously an incredibly important part of our industry and our society. What are you seeing in that cultural tourism, Aboriginal tourism space, and also wellness tourism? That's you know, really come to the fore. Are you seeing anything in terms of consumer trends around those areas, Dougal?
Yeah, certainly. What we're seeing more become available. I wouldn't say that there's been a whole lot that have become online as of yet. I think there's still a lot of testing of the waters. Certainly the health and well-being has been a big one throughout COVID of people wanting to escape and I suppose have that mental and emotional you know, unwind, let's say. And certainly from the cultural side, it's a big part that I'm certainly very interested in seeing grow. There's a lot of education that needs to go on in that space as well. And I think both inbound and outbound to consumers, but also to operators. So I think working with them is going to be a big part of the landscape over the next, you know, 12 months, 2 years. Being an SA Tourism Awards judge as well, I've seen a few more of those come into the so I suppose the judging side of that as well. So it'd be great to have them be made more aware of the tools that are available through you know, being online bookable to be able to reach that broader audience as well. But yeah, look, it is something I'd spent a lot of time on a sheep station up near Cooper Pedy as a teenager, and have done a lot of cooking and recipe design with Indigenous ingredients and certainly kangaroo and other game. So for me, the cultural side, I think it's a story we haven't told that we need to tell so much more. It's what Australia is, and I'm really excited to see that it's actually unfolding a lot more and coming to the fore.
No, thanks, Dougal. Please feel free to come off mute, or again type into the chat if you'd like to ask Dougal a question or make a comment as we move through the questions I have in front of me. So what are you seeing, Dougal? And you sort of touched on this a little bit, but the you know, in terms of product types that are being strongly booked, is it what you just ran through, or is there some interesting trends emerging in terms of product types that are coming to the fore more than would have been expected 2 years ago?
Yeah, look, certainly, as I said, the nature wildlife has always been a big one for us, working with the likes of zoos and Cleveland Wildlife Park and Gorge Road and Warrawong, etc. They've been big, and I think that brings in the family side of travel as well, of being able to take kids out and being out in open space. You know, it's funnily enough, a lot of the younger travellers are looking for these experiences with, you know, gin and beer, and it's that educational side as well of travel. So the online bookable side has definitely grown. Obviously, people being able to do it from the comfort of their own home and lounge. You know, we're finding that the majority of online bookings are happening between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. at night. So being online bookable gives people the opportunity, or operators the opportunity, to still take bookings when they want to be relaxing themselves. It's, you know, it's obviously hard to find that work-life balance, especially within tourism at the moment when staffing is so low. So, you know, being online bookable is just allowing people to reach such a more broader range of or audience as well.
Yeah, no, great, Dougal. That's really, it's between 8 and 9 is the time that you get most of your online bookings.
Yeah, that seems to be the most common time frame, and that's not just us. That's, I suppose, more the market research that has been done in regards to when the majority of people do book. Obviously, once they've eaten dinner, the kids have, you know, settled or gone to bed, it gives people the chance to actually come together and book. We also see quite a few come through on a Monday, funnily enough, and I think that's because a lot of people have just come through the weekend and want to plan what they're doing, but are also most likely working from home. So Mondays do seem to be quite a big day for bookings as well.
Do you have a idea in terms of price brackets? Do you analyze that as well? Are people booking, you know, $50 experiences, or $500 or $2,000, or obviously they're doing all of the above, or you know, are they tending, you know, in terms of the price brackets, I guess also the length of stay and the lead times? What are you seeing there?
Yeah, look, lead times have definitely shrunk. We're certainly seeing a lot more last minute bookings. I think people are just, I suppose anyone who has been through COVID knows how quickly things can change, and cancellations can change, and just plans and commitments can change. Price bracketing, look, that's I suppose a big one. We're finding our older age group are spending more. Our younger age group are looking for, I suppose, not so much budget, but the return on investment. They want to know that what they're paying is going to be worthwhile. And obviously the bigger ticket items are the ones that are your bucket list, and we're finding that's the older age group as well of, you know, spending money on doing the larger priced items. So it's great to, I suppose, see people doing that. The one thing we are seeing, I suppose, a bit of a downturn in, especially with intrastate, is the multi-day tours, because people are more self-sufficient. They're more on that self-drive trips of 2-3 days. Certainly now that we're past the I suppose more dramatic side of COVID, people aren't utilising their annual leave as much for intrastate travel. They're supposed saving that for when they do more domestic and international, where previously a lot of businesses were mandating people to take annual leave. So people were doing those, you know, 5, 6, 7 day trips out into regions that they hadn't been in. And funnily enough, the data that we have seen is that, you know, the 89% of people did visit another region, and 55% visited at least 3 other regions within, you know, that last 12 months, which is great to see that people were traveling further. So, you know, some of the data that we do have has been absolutely fantastic to give us insights to what the consumers have been wanting during this time and what they are looking to do moving forward. Because even between now and kind of 2024, we've in some of the research we've done, you know, 4 out of 10 of our members are saying that they will travel overseas between now and 2024.
4 out of 10, 40%.
4 out of 10, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting, isn't it? I just saw a news article this morning saying that the Australian Passport Office is inundated. They've got to get more staff because passports are being renewed at a huge rate. Lead times, Dougal, can you give us any numbers? What was, you know, the average lead time for an RAA booking 2 years ago to now? Is it 20% shorter, 40% shorter? Do you have those numbers? It might be a bit of a tough question.
Yeah, look, certainly going back pre-COVID, we were seeing people booking a couple of months ahead, especially around those peak periods of school holidays. You know, people were booking 3, 4, 5, 6 months in advance. What we're finding now is that, especially with the experiences, we're finding that people are booking the day before, a week before, 2 weeks before. So that lead time has definitely very much shrunk. You know, certainly what I've seen in the last batch of school holidays, I won't talk about Christmas because I think that was, you know, when Delta hit and it became very difficult to judge any time frame. But certainly with the ones that we saw in April was that we were seeing bookings within that 2 weeks was kind of the longest lead time. It was rare that we saw a lot of activity outside of that 2 weeks. But then anything within that 2 weeks up to the day before or the morning of was when we started seeing a lot of it, because there were a lot of people still being infected with COVID, sadly. And, you know, hopefully that'll start moving out a bit more as we move further. People are still being quite cautious.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating, isn't it? Kelly Kun, do you want to come off mute and ask your question?
Thank you, Sean. It's really just a statement doubling back on the Indigenous comments that you made early to let everybody know, and especially Dougal, about the Aboriginal location at the river near Swan Reach called Nort Nort. It's a conservation park, 8,000-year-old rock shelter, and they have been doing tours now for 30 years as well, but predominantly by the river. So we've just opened up in the land component of it. So my apologies, I was barging in with a statement rather than a question, Sean, but you went there last week with Tourism Australia. So I don't know if you had any comments to add to that.
No, it was a brilliant product. I actually, when I think it was the late 90s, I went to Nort Nort for the first time. So to go back 20 plus years later and see it again, it was a great experience. And it was, I think traditionally we've seen a lot of Aboriginal tourism as an international product, but increasingly it's becoming a domestic driver now as well, which is just so wonderful, I think, because it's just such a, you know, it's part of all of us, and it's such a, you know, our First Nations culture is just so impressive the more that you interact with it. So how many Aboriginal tourism products are you seeing bookings? Do you have many products on your system, Dougal?
No, sadly we don't, and this has certainly been a hot topic that you know, has come up, and certainly something that Paula and myself have spoken about of the work that we'd like to see happen in getting more of that online. You know, as I said last year, I did get to actually judge that category in the Tourism Awards as well, and it really highlighted to me what was out there, but also I suppose how little we know about it and how little it is available, I suppose, via distribution as well. So I think there's a larger piece of work there, and I know that SATC, their product development team, certainly working on that as well. So that is something that is a key highlight of what I'll be looking at over the next 12 months, of seeing what we can do to help bring a lot of those, I suppose, online, if they're not already, or at least into distribution to to share with our network, because I think it's very important that we tell the story of of our First Nations people, and that's a local thing as well. I don't think we've told that story well enough through school and education, that we understand it even ourselves to be able to pass it on. So yeah, I'd love to be able to share that through what we do, not only within the online travel distribution, but I think also within our advocacy piece as well.
Yeah, and I think Kelly's product is a good example as well, where Kelly's actually working with Nort and the people, the family involved there, and so she's able to package their product into her product, which is a good way to help people, enter and participate in the tourism industry as well, is through packaging.
Yeah.
Dougal, in terms of distribution of, obviously your primary method of distribution is digital. People can go into RA offices around the state and book product. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So I think that's one of our probably untold stories is that we've been doing travel for 65 years, and it's I suppose with such a huge member base of over 780,000 people, I look after, I suppose, the product side, which does incorporate the Experience SA platform, but we also have an 18 shop network and a retail contact centre that operates 6 days per week out of our Mile End office. So with that, I think, I have had some feedback from an operator lately saying that they hadn't had any bookings from our online channel, which connects through Resdi for experiences. But then a couple of days later sent through some really good positive feedback from a member that had booked in one of our shops. So I think a big piece around that as well is that, our shops, like all of the travel businesses out there, I suppose, suffering a bit at the moment, because we have found it hard to get agents and consultants back working. A lot of them did move out of the industry, and even within our business, we were very lucky that we had other products that we could redeploy them to within other business units. But some of those travel agents with a wealth of experience and knowledge decided to stay within claims or insurance or innovation. So at the moment, we're trying to recruit more travel agents and consultants, and the ones that we are bringing on have come from external sources, such as your Phil Hoffmans and your Flight Centres. So with that, they're not generally all across South Australian products, because I suppose PHT and Flight Centre aren't traditionally an intrastate travel booking platform. So we are just asking everyone to, I suppose, be a bit aware and patient with the fact that we are trying to upskill all of our staff on South Australian product as well. So they will sometimes not use the online channel. They might go back to a traditional or more familiar platform through the likes of APT to book what they're booking. So it may not necessarily show up as RAA, it may show up as an APT booking, but the amount of SA product that we are selling is still very, very big, with the fact that people can't naturally just afford to take a whole family overseas at the moment with everything that's happening.
No, it's good to fully understand that. So you said 16 stores around the state, is it?
18.
18 stores around the state.
Yeah, and that's in regional areas as well. We do have obviously that huge member base of not everyone just being based in Adelaide. So we do have a lot of those members travelling into Adelaide from regional as well.
So in regards to distributing you know, RAA travel experiences, and connecting with your target market. Can you give us a flavour of, you know, 780,000 members across SA? You obviously also, I assume there's some sort of affiliation with like organisations across the country. You've got 18 stores, you've got an SA Motor magazine that goes to all those members, you've got obviously incredible digital assets, and I'm sure there's many other things that I haven't mentioned. So how are you connecting? And obviously RAA is all about motor, travel and insurance. And so you've also got these other two areas that you're leveraging. How it's probably take the next 30 minutes for you to answer this question to the right detail, but top line, how are you connecting with these customers? And is it all about mining your membership, or is it more broad than that?
Yeah, look, it's much broader than that. I think you know, we've always been seen traditionally as a motor and home insurance business, and as I said, a lot of people don't realise that we were the first travel agency right here in South Australia. We've been doing travel for 65 odd years, so our ability to connect, it's I suppose the 15% that commission that we start out with as our base really covers the ability to connect to the database of 780,000. And, you know, we've got 67,000 plus followers on the likes of Facebook, 10K on Instagram. We have a dedicated travel e-news that goes out to over 230,000 people. You know, and then I think the big ticket item is our SA Motor Mag. We still have a dedicated print magazine that goes out to roughly 375,000 households each quarter, that we don't get rid of, because our members just demand that stays in there. And it's amazing how many houses you go to that you notice these magazines on people's coffee tables or in the kitchen. They do get read. So it's a very big opportunity, and you know, I certainly don't try and sell any advertising in there, but we do a lot of editorial in there. So, you know, we go out on for meals and take our travel agents and consultants with us. We take the SA Motor journalists. We do have in-house journalists who write these articles, and we put, you know, digital content together so that we can send out e-news to our members about various regions. And, you know, I think we've covered the majority of, if not all regions during COVID, of being able to promote certain aspects of those. We've done a lot of work around certainly what happened with the devastating bushfires back in 2020, and helping businesses over there. But I think one of our biggest ticket items that's recently come about is our new Discover with RAA Travel TV show on Channel 7 that's you know, hosted by the likes of Kelly Golding and Callum Han, etc. And, you know, that's, we love what Adelaide and Cozzy are doing. You know, they're amazing for the South Australian promotional side, and we're, I suppose, taking it that little bit further and also promoting the outbound side of travel as well, because we know that when people start traveling outside of South Australia, people also start traveling into South Australia. And it's those domestic and international travelers that do have that higher spend when they come to the state. You know, they're not doing the self-drive, they are doing the larger tours and multi-day packages. So, you know, obviously the more airlines we can see coming in and going out means that we can really start working towards that, you know, that 8 billion goal again of what we saw pre-COVID. So, you know, we're doing everything we can to support everyone we can in whatever way we can. And, you know, I understand that, you know, some people say they may not have been featured in some of the promotion we've done. But with over, you know, 550 suppliers that we do work with, it is hard to, I suppose, promote everyone. But at the same time, we don't charge for any of that. We're in a very fortunate position with our marketing that we do try and provide that out of the 15% commission that we do charge. And the one thing I like to say is if you're on our platform and on our Experience A website, it's free advertising because we only charge when we actually make a booking on people's behalf. We don't charge startup fees, ongoing fees, or exit fees. So it really is a good chance to at least get your brand and your products in front of 780,000 people.
Yeah, thanks, Dougal. I guess my question is, you know, how does an operator coerce RAA to feature as a hero product in campaign activity? But before answering that, Monique, you have a question for Dougal?
Hi, Sean. Hi, Dougal. So you're probably going to answer my question anyway. I think you're leading on to it now, Sean, is how do you become featured? Because, yeah, we are certainly, I'm on the Eyre Peninsula, and we haven't even got a booking for the long weekend. Like, it's just people, whether they're going to book last minute. I've looked around at other properties. I manage 4 other properties as well, and I've had last minute cancellations. And so only 2 out of our, 5 properties, including ours, are booked for the long weekend. And yeah, I don't know what the trends and what's happening, because so we'd love to get on some more platforms, because yeah, we had sort of attracted a lot of people when the interstate travel opened up and everyone were discovering their own backyard. But being so wet and cold, whether people are choosing to go to the warmer states. But, you know, we've just made some changes to attract that winter market with adding a fire pit and just advertise like a fire pit package with, yeah, so we offer experiences within our accommodation. So yeah, I'd love to know more about getting on board with RAA and how, yeah. So
thanks, Monique. No, that's good. And I think the other one there is, and Dougal, you're probably going to say it, who is the go-to person for someone like Monique?
Yes, it's me, myself, and I. So I'm the SA Travel Product Manager. So team of one. So happy to obviously take any questions on that outside of this forum. And I have sent Finn some information across, which contains all of our marketing information, but also stuff about what we do and how to connect. So in answer to your question, Monique, it's probably 2-pronged. Firstly, around the distribution side, we actually moved our accommodation side of things onto a new platform in December last year. And we used to have a direct feed from about 12 different channel managers, including the likes of SiteMinder and Reservex and Res Online, etc. Where now we, on the new platform, it feeds in from Expedia and hotel beds. But it does mean that there's specific criteria. We aren't set up yet for the book now, pay later scenario. So we are only set up for the upfront payment. We are looking at how we can change that because it's obviously in climates like this, people do want that ability to book something but know that they've got the flexibility. And we are also, I suppose, with the likes of Expedia and hotel beds, that does relate more to the hotel side of things and bigger properties. We are looking at a connection to the likes of booking.com and how we can manage that. We are working on it, but just so everyone's aware, APIs which create the bridge between our system and those other distribution networks cost roughly about $20,000 each and can take up to 6, 9, 12 months to actually have development on. So it is a plan in works because we do want to get a lot more of those boutique accommodation back online and certainly the B&Bs. We know that that's a key one for the local market. And secondly, I suppose to answer your other question about being featured, so anyone that's connected to our program does have the ability to be featured. It is very much a hand-picked scenario. I don't take bribes as much as I'd love to with great lunches and wine, but it is built around, I suppose, what we see as what's happening in market at that point in time, the trends that are happening, what we're doing, the seasonal changes as well. So where people are looking to travel. So even though we'll look to promote, beachside areas in summer, we'll also look at how we can promote other areas of, going up the river, or, probably promoting something like the Flinders in December is not really going to work too well because a lot of people find it too hot. But we try and, get around to everyone. Obviously, we've got some key suppliers who we do co-op marketing with that do get a bit of a push, such as, the likes of zoos that we do a lot of work with. But we do try and share it around. As I said, with over 550 operators that we work with, it is hard to feel like we're promoting everyone. But we also like to make sure that we're promoting regions as well, rather than individual products. The TV show as such, we are working with Channel 7. Channel 7 do come around and give us some of what they want us to feature, rather than us handpicking that. But look, I could talk about this all day, and I know that we've got a lot more to talk about. As I said, Finn has some information to send out, a bit more about the program. So, always feel free to reach out to me if you do have any direct questions as well. I hope that's answered the majority of that question.
Yeah, thanks, Dougal. What about distressed stock? Last minute bookings. Do you have any assets in terms of how to get a product out there that last minute might be an opportunity with value add or something like that? Do you do any of that sort of work, Dougal?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do quite a bit of work with SATC on co-op marketing as well. We've just had a winter campaign that went out all about experiences, which saw about 24 products that had value add, and that's where we will go to individual suppliers and ask if they'd like to be featured. And to be featured, we do just ask for a bit of a value add, whether it's provide a bit of extra commission, and we'll pass that on directly to our members as a discount. Or, if it's, say, the likes of Coonawarra Experiences out there in Limestone Coast, they've come back and said that they'll, provide a bottle of wine per couple, etc. So we definitely do those sorts of campaigns. We did a big campaign back in March with Adelaide Oval, where they came to us with 40% off distressed pricing for RAA members, and that went absolutely gangbusters. And that's something I think, now that we have had the ability to see how this new platform works, is something that I'm working with some key accommodation suppliers for ongoing value add and discount opportunities. Obviously, we don't want it to be discounted pricing all the time, because that does tend to devalue product as well. But certainly value adds are a great way to get your product in front of the crowd a bit more as well.
Thanks, Dougal. I think it is fascinating to see the trend as borders have now opened, that we are all hopeful that South Australians that were choosing to go overseas pre-COVID have fallen in love with their state and want to actually do trips in their state rather than head to those overseas or interstate destinations as they usually would. Have you seen evidence of this, that there is a halo that is actually being delivered for the state, that people that, the latest number I heard was about $3.3 billion South Australians used to spend on outbound tourism pre-COVID. And obviously some of that was clawed back into South Australian tourism over COVID. But is there going to be a halo, Dougal, or what's your view?
Yeah, look, it's really hard to read at the moment. I mean, we're seeing a lot of inquiry come through for I suppose, that outbound travel again. It is something that's a bit of a slower uptake. As I said, there's still a bit of cautiousness within the industry, people wanting to go external. Domestic certainly has opened up again. For someone who, I'm not currently in Bali, but I've just recently been to Bali, I think one of the issues we're seeing at the moment is those cancellations of flights, the changing in schedules, it's nowhere near as easy to travel overseas at the moment as what it was. And I think, you know, certainly with you know, things easing up with, I know that Bali has now dropped the need for a pre-flight PCR, which, you know, for a family of 4, that's saving nearly $600. So it is becoming easier. So the forward booking inquiries for July, August and beyond are certainly showing that there is that likelihood of people wanting to travel overseas again. And cruise, funnily enough, has been one that's looking to come back in quite a big way. And you know, I think one of the things that we've seen with cruise in the past, especially for places like Kangaroo Island and Port Lincoln, Wallaroo, etc., those little local cruises, the amount of tourism that brings, either from locals being on the cruise or interstate and international people, is that it does bring a lot of people there and spending money because you know, they've got an all-inclusive kind of, I suppose, trip as well. So we're excited to see the ships come back to Adelaide as part of that. But it's just such a hard tell. I think this time last year we were so excited to say that international was coming back and this was coming back and that was coming back. I think people have taken caution based on what happened on getting too excited too soon. But we're certainly starting to see that trend of people wanting to travel interstate and overseas again. But I don't think it'll take away a lot of that ability for weekends of people being able to pack up their family, doing it cheaper than what they could to go overseas, and doing it easier and not having to cancel as much as what they would if they were having to do a domestic or international trip.
Yeah, thanks, Dougal. I recently had an operator talk to me about Expedia connecting with the RAA site, and the prices are in Australia and US dollars. Is this something you're aware of?
No, look, I've certainly heard recently about what was happening with Airbnb, but I don't believe that ours should be showing in American dollars. Our site should definitely be showing in Australian dollars.
Yeah.
But no, I wasn't aware. I know that there were issues with the search criteria, I believe, on the Expedia platform, where it was showing favoritism to those who provided more commission or whatever it was to Expedia. But certainly with
what I've got that wrong, Dougal. It might have been that Expedia is showing US dollars to RAA product that's on their site from RAA or whatever. But anyway, I'll come back to you with some clarification on that. So I haven't quite got my wires.
Yeah, look, that would probably be something I'd need to get our project manager or development manager from that Vibe site on. But certainly the prices that we're showing should be in Australian dollars. There's no doubt about it.
We're getting towards the end of the session, and I'm conscious that I need to bring Paula in at some point to talk about advocacy and industry work that RAA is doing more broadly. Is there any last question that anyone has out there that they'd like to quickly throw to Dougal before I bring Paula in on the discussion? If so, please come off mic. I'll just give you a second to do that if you wish to.
I think I've said so much, I've either confused them or answered their questions.
I was going to say, answer the questions, Dougal.
You have. Dougal, any last points? What your crystal ball? What are what are going to be the key? And one of the areas that I'd love to talk about, we've run out of time, but terms and conditions. Obviously, we're seeing airlines now shifting on that. We're seeing some bigger hotel chains shifting on that. But your crystal ball, what would be the one insight that you would like to leave with people?
Tell a story. Tell your story. Have a point of difference. Be different in the market and stand out in a big crowd. But also collaborate. I can't say that enough. You know, understand what's around you, but don't see them as an enemy or competition. See them as an opportunity. Yeah,
no, that's great, Dougal. It was actually probably the key theme that came out of the tourism conference last week for me was tell your story. That's what people want. People want to connect. They want to be a part of something, and they want authentic experiences. And I love the collaboration piece as well, because that's what SA, we should be all about collaboration. We're a small state and we've got great people, and we're so lucky to have an institution like RAA, you know, really wedded to those values, which are so relevant to small and family businesses as well.
Absolutely.
I'll bring in Paula Misford now. Paula and the TIC SA and Emily Perry, who's online here as well. We've done a significant amount of advocacy work, particularly over the course of the lead up to the state election. Paula is the Policy and Public Affairs Manager at RAA. Paula, if you wouldn't mind coming off mute, which it looks like you are, and tell us a little bit about the work that RAA is doing in that advocacy industry development space.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks, everyone. Hopefully you can all hear and see me okay. And thanks for bringing me into the conversation. I think it's been a great, fabulous conversation with Dougal here today. So obviously, as Dougal's mentioned, RAA is very ingrained in South Australia's history. We've been around for a little while, just 120 odd years, and we're a very iconic mutual organisation, and we have representation over 780,000 people, which is a really good span across our state. So this gives us a really good foundation to have a strong voice on behalf of our members, which is South Australians, and hopefully a lot of you as well. And we've always been traditionally an advocate, and quite naturally an advocate in the areas of mobility and roads and road infrastructure, and people know us and see us as that. But we saw a very strong link into tourism in that space as well, and that great connection. And it's also through our travel side of the business, where we're a travel expert and we're a trusted provider, but we have a real deep interest in growing the visitor economy in South Australia. So our advocacy work has really spun out of that, and has gone from strength to strength. And really, on the basis of that point on collaboration, it's been our collaboration with industry, but particularly our partnerships, and our partnerships with TIC SA has been. I hope you can't hear this, but I've got a siren going. We've got an evacuation test going right now. So I'm going to just try and talk over it. Hopefully I'm not going to get evacuated, but otherwise, Emily, you might have to come off mute for me.
If we see flames in the background, we'll let you know, Paul.
Of all the times, 2 for 2. So yeah, absolutely. Our partnership with TIC SA has really been something for us, where we've been able to join forces and, really provide a collective voice to government, to decision makers, to policy makers, to really support you guys, our operators, tourism businesses, the tourism sector. And we went through a election campaign. We did a regional roadshow together, which I think was a fabulous outcome. 10 regional roadshows within 10 regions prior to the election. And we saw some really great information coming through from that, which we could build into our advocacy work. And really the focus of our advocacy work in tourism over the last 12 months has been around tourism infrastructure and supporting, particularly in our regions, to really enhance that visitor experience, and to provide those necessary tourism amenities like road toilets and all those sexy things that we need to create that full experience, rest stops, visitor information centres and whatnot. And especially that has been particularly important while we have seen that intrastate travel as being really important in that recaptured drive market. Skills and the labour force issue has been something obviously that is right across all sectors and not just for tourism. And it's a complex issue, but something that we've been able to join the conversation in being able to support and advocate for, and we'll continue to do that on behalf of the tourism sector. And also we've all looked to support the increase of marketing funding, which we're really pleased to see a greater investment to marketing being handed down in the budget just last week. So we've been busy this last 12 months in particular, and it's been a new effort and a strong effort. And I think it's our partnership that with TICSA that's really helped unlock that to be that continued voice and a stronger voice to support the visitor economy and what we can do for the next phase for tourism in the future.
Thanks, Paula. That's great. If there's any questions, please post them in the chat or come off mute. I might just quickly ask a question, Paula. I was in the budget lockup Thursday last week. They lock us in a room. It's like when you're a kid and you go to downtown in the video game lockup or whatever, except you've got this wad of documents about this thick for 2 hours that you get to look at. So it's not as much fun as downtown. But and so you get to scrutinise the papers, and the treasurer comes in, and actually Charles Mountain was there, the infrastructure expert, and as part of Emily's team, has a huge amount of expertise. And I was not only could I scrutinise the papers, but I was able to scrutinise Charles and ask him about his take on what was going on, and because obviously sometimes it's not easy to understand exactly what the benefits are for tourism, but Charles is a wealth of knowledge and was able to quickly help me identify the tourism outcomes around road funding and things like that. And it was it was great to be able to interact with him, and it was great to be able to have him as part of the roadshow. And it's one of the benefits of having Emily's team, which is obviously very broad and has lots of expertise. So I don't know, Emily, if you might want to make a comment on that, or Paula, if that's over to you, maybe one of you could comment on that.
Can you hear me okay? I've had audio issues, so I had to switch to the headphones, and I'm freezing cold. So
That's great.
Thank you. It's all happening here. Heavily medicated, so things could get loose. I totally agree with what you said, Sean. I think the way that we've been able to bring our two organisations together in our sort of core competencies and that overlap between Dougal's area and our policy area and road safety and your amazing advocacy for the industry has really amplified that, which was what we really wanted to do through our partnership. And we really see this as an ongoing partnership, and we will work together to develop what's the focus that we would want to put on it. And I think that the regional focus, and even though it was really challenged during COVID, because we wanted to be there in person, actually it enabled a lot more people to participate, and the relationship and the access, I think that we were able to do build up with Zoe Bettison, for example, has really opened the door, I think, to ongoing dialogue, and has really brought together this road safety and infrastructure, even investment in social housing and what that looks like, community, the needs of, skill shortages and accommodation shortages in regional areas as well as metro areas, skills, and investment in tourism and marketing. So, and the importance of really basic stuff like signage and facilities. So it's been a great partnership. We want it to continue, and it's great that you saw that in the lockup too, because certainly that's how we feel about it. So keen to support you and pick up the baton where appropriate on tourism advocacy as well as road safety infrastructure and the intersection of those important issues. So love working with Dougal's team and your team too.
Thanks, Emily, and thanks, Paula, and thanks, Dougal. I might just wrap up, and just a final comment on what you said, Emily. I think the longer I'm in this game, the more I realise that and see that tourism actually permeates into all parts of our economy, all parts of our society, and all parts of our environment. And more government is understanding that. And I think partnerships with RAA like we've got actually deliver that in a way that's been so meaningful, not only to our two organisations, but it's also, we know that it's getting a better outcome for industry as well. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time today, participating in the Zoom call. For those of you that are watching the video back, trust you found it useful. And thank you so much, Dougal, for your industry expertise and your knowledge And I think what is most powerful is that an organisation that is such a great institution of South Australia that has significant resources well beyond any small business and family business is so ground in the values of small and family business. It's just so wonderful to have such a key stakeholder that is so values based and so conscious of working with the backbone of our industry, which is SME and family operators. So thank you again, Dougal, and thanks to RAA for their ongoing support in so many ways for our industry.
Thanks, Sean.
If more information, we'll be sending out an email with a copy of the recording. We'll also provide, I assume, happy for us to provide your contact details, Dougal, for people that may not have it. Thank you again all, and have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you in our next In Conversation next month. Bye for now.
Thanks, everyone.